Alright, welcome back to the Archon Cup. Of course, this is a Rocketbeans TV tournament. Again, for those who don't know, Rocketbeans are a German stream. You can find their channel just simply Rocketbeans TV. But the cool thing about them is they, again, like they're this huge anomaly because they're not part of the StarCraft scene. They're this bigger entity who's doing StarCraft. So I think it's really, really cool that they've gotten into it for Legacy of the Void. But getting back into game number 2 with this first best of 3 today. Spawning here to the bottom right corner of the map, it's going to be the Red Zerg players. That's right, you hear me plural, because it's the Red Archon of Dimaga and Slivko.
In the top left as the blue Archon, it's the Protosses, Hasuobs, and Socke. The same opening for Adepts. I don't think Adept opener was bad, it's just that if you do scout it or anticipate it from the Zerg, there are ways to shut it down completely. AKA roaches. Roaches still have the ability to get burrow, but they no longer have tunneling claws automatically. Or shouldn't, until they get roach speed. Yeah, and they accidentally have it.
Yeah, there's a bit of a bug with it. Quickly gonna point out to you guys, you're gonna see some skips this game. I mentioned this during game number 1. You'll notice my ping is actually not bad at all. Yeah, I'm still gonna get 4 network spikes per moment. This is just a Legacy of the Void server problem. This is something players experience, unfortunately, too, from time to time. And there's nothing we can do about it other than getting into a game or having it restart. And unfortunately, with so many folks casting from Rocketbeans and O Gaming, we can't really ask them to restart because we're getting some minor hiccups on our stream. So if this gets worse, like as the day goes on, we'll talk to them about it. But this really tends to happen like once every 5 or so games. It's not that bad. Or hopefully it won't be, at least. Ugh, cross your fingers, guys. Knock on some wood. But, yeah, this Adept poke coming out once again. I think the one thing that I was a little bit concerned about last game was this. I almost feel it didn't do enough damage because they retreated too soon. I think if you just plug those Adepts into that mineral line, those slings aren't going to clean them up very easily at all. But instead they chose to run, instead they chose to not fight. And really, these Adepts can just take on so much in the early game.
I mean, they're like Reapers, and that was their initial place in the matchup where kind of, I think they're actually even worse than Reapers originally, but now they're just really good. Like, they'll survive, they'll get in, they'll get out, you can cancel the Sonic Transfer, the Sonic Transfer gives you vision, so, like, that can be your scout anyways. Like, now they're really good just for scouting means, and... The use of that, by the way, you mentioned him earlier, Kiwikaki, so good with the cancel on those. Yeah. He was. I don't think we've seen anyone else. I mean, we've seen cancels to stop attacks, but I mean, he was really good at like forcing people into these weird baited situations because he'd send them one way and then like cancel and go the other. Yeah. Unfortunately, he did drop out of the Lotus League, which is where we were seeing him. Yeah, that was quite the bummer. Yeah, because he was one of the Protosses that seemed to be willing to really try and change their compositions, but oh wow. Now, there is a Roach Run on the way, along with a lot more Lings, and I wonder if they're going to do an all-in. I think that's still true, despite them going for a couple of more drones, just because it's such an early time to get a bunch of units, but okay, they get a lair, so never mind. Alright.
I don't know, I just feel like, generally speaking here, all-ins are a little bit hard to pull off. We've seen some really cool ones that, of course, involve Nidus Worms, and folks like Bly come to mind immediately, but everything about Legacy of the Void, it comes down to like you have more workers at the start of the game, ramps up everything much sooner. So you might have this really sick timing for a faster all-in than you would in HOTS. Your opponent's also gonna have like faster defenses, bigger defenses.
Well, the problem with Protoss, and this is one of those like economy things that people are worried about, is that they're usually not economy-based, they're tech-based. Yeah. And tech still runs at the same speed as it does in Heart of the Swarm. Where for Zerg is economy-based, so they technically get the better advantage just through the economy model, which I don't think we've ever seen a game, and we probably never will, notice it, honestly. We're like, oh, the Zerg won because he had the better economy or whatever, but because of the actual game. But it's possible, I suppose. Well, we just
witnessed the new warp-in come into effect.
Yes.
Oracle floating around. But for those who don't know, I guess updating you on Legacy of the Void things, when you warp in as a Protoss player now, you actually take double damage. Now, it's only for the duration of the warp-in, and the warp-in time actually used to be double, but then they put it back to normal. But if you warp zealots into the heart of lings, they will kill those zealots before they even finish getting made. In fact, in the old version of it, you could have one ling with 3/3 and adrenal glands kill about 5 zealots out of 6 if they all warped in at the same time. It was kind of ridiculous.
Those are good days.
Yeah.
Anyways,
those are the days where we won against some pros, some GMs. That felt pretty good.
But just my point is that, like, the early aggression, we see it actually all the time, at least from like Bly, for instance. So, well, like Sunling Claws has been nerfed, kind of, not correctly yet, but still kind of. It's still like the case where constant aggression is possible as Zerg while expanding with this big boost to this big adrenaline rush you get in the beginning of Legacy of the Void compared to Heart of the Swarm. But it didn't happen. They're on 3 bases. I think that's it's still a very big fear for Zerg that tank drops or disruptor drops will happen. So to go completely without anti-air is always going to be a risk. So that's why we see like these faster layers and the less 3 base automatically play from Zerg.
It's kind of funny, by the way, the Oracle is being used for harass right now, which I actually think isn't too bad. But ducking in and killing 1 or 2 drones, I almost wonder if placing a stasis ward and getting out would be a little more effective. Stop mining on half the minerals for like 30 seconds versus killing 2 drones.
It probably would be, but that does take... How long does it take to make the stasis strap? Like,
I think it's 3 seconds. It's not long, but it's longer than instant, for sure.
Yeah, if the queen isn't paying attention and a sport crawl, then yeah, you can get away with it. That Oracle's already kind of low.
Well, not getting away with this.
Yeah, well, he wasn't going to use it for anything, you know, like an attack as on the way or anything like that, but it's always nice to see these harassment opportunities. The Lurkers come out, I think, faster than they did last game.
Yeah, Lurkers much faster this time around, but also not, I'd say, the craziest necessity. I can't believe you killed that Hydra with that, by the way. This right? Oracle's been a little... I'm telling you right now, it's Hasuobs controlling this Oracle. Because of all-time Protoss players, I still don't think I've seen anyone with better Oracle control than Hasuobs back in the day. So,
oh man, I wish I could tell you, because I know someone did put in our chat what the interview was saying. Like they asked, and Hasuobs said blank, and Socke said blank, and I just don't remember what it was.
This Void Ray is a little bit curious to me. I guess it's the creep tumors, which is nice, but it's also one Void Ray.
Yeah, this should just die.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. He's going to try to run away with it. Now, we do have a Warp Prism full of Zealots. I kind of would have preferred to see it at depths, honestly, but they're going to drop these in the main. I don't know if this will fully cause Dimaga and Slivko to return home, as they have started the siege on the other side of the map. And these Lurker shots, was it 9 range? Yeah, 9 range, guys. It hit pretty darn far, but their attacks are weird, they're slow, and they're kind of dodgeable.
Yeah, they're kind of hard to hear.
This is where those Void Rays come into effect too, but unfortunately it is going to get picked off pretty quick. 3rd base under pretty heavy assault. Warp Prism in the main. I guess the assault's unloaded, but whole position on the drones.
Yeah, around the Hydras it would be targetable. Like that, the drone micro over dealing with that is pretty good. But it looks like Red Archon is just going to...
Oh, this is so important. Blue Archon actually pulling the probes away from automatically returning back. Because if those go over the Lurkers, they're going to die.
Well, they're still going to go over the Lurkers, so...
Yeah, but it's one of the times, as we see, it's actually not so bad. In fact, they're dodging half the hits. It's the roaches that are killing them, not the Lurkers.
Regardless, you know, like, this is probably going to be game over. Blue Archon did try and mix things up and go for Colossus first, which was a, you know, it's a solid attempt, but I still don't think that's quite the way to go. I think you have to get a fairly big Stalker army with Disruptors, and then you can make your way to Colossus. You know, they kind of skipped those steps and went trying to go heavy on tech initially, which Lurkers don't have too much of a trouble with. The Roaches just tank Colossus fairly well in Heart of the Swarm, tank them even better in Legacy of the Void.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the idea of the Void Ray. The complements to this are, of course, the Colossus deal with the Hydras, and the Void Ray deal with the Lurkers. And it's supposed to just be this really nice synergy between the two. But I think it's just the timing really caught Blue Archon off guard for this, so they weren't really able to utilize that. I mean, the first Void Ray didn't make much sense to me, but seeing more come out now, so it's actually a pretty well thought out plan. Those Colossus, they're already so low. Realizing, let's not fight, maybe.
They got their damage decreased by 20% and their range decreased by a full number. Like, what do you even call that? Like, just by 1, all right? They got decreased by 1.
A unit.
Yeah, 1 unit. There you go.
Alright, so one person is going to get out of there with the Adept still alive. This is kind of cool because, you know, classically speaking, Protoss players are kind of do or die when it comes to anything they do harass-wise. You're either super invested in taking down that hive, so you throw away all the zealots, or you just don't even bother. But the new War Prism range has actually added a lot of utility to what you can do for drops, whether it's disruptors or oracles or what have you.
Yeah. Yeah, Legacy of the Void as a whole is a game where comebacks are definitely viable. A, because it's just a game that no one really knows yet. It's going to be a lot of mistakes that people aren't going to be capitalizing on in like 2 years when it finally comes out. But also just in general, like the low economy means that if you're actually throwing away way too much, but what looks to be cost efficient trades actually isn't because your main and natural running out. So Archon, Blue Archon is not entirely out of it, but they're not looking that hot either.
The struggles are real. Now, this is kind of interesting because the attack on the right side. Those lurker attacks you mentioned briefly earlier, they don't make any sound, and they hardly do. It's this really soft, like sand being poured out of a bag type thing.
Whoosh.
It's okay.
Oh,
it's kind of funny to discuss, but disruptor shot, pretty nice. It's funny to discuss, but realistically speaking, for a moment, it's a pretty big deal because it's so hard to tell they're actually attacking unless it's very obvious open terrain like this. Whereas I think if you got those big chunky sort of sounds, bigger sound effects, it not only makes the unit cooler and more dynamic to watch, for player awareness I think it goes a long way too.
Yeah, definitely a change on this one. And their model could use a change. It's the old one from the Art of the Storm game.
Oracle finally dies.
Yeah, oh wow. I was just laughing because the Disruptor dodged about 4 lurker shots. I thought it was pretty impressive. But ultimately did die. This one does as well.
It's... I don't know, man. Protoss banelings, you know? Scary as hell, but...
They're not even trying to use the War Prism with it, which I think is a big mistake.
I agree. I do think it's a little too far gone, though. I think Dimaga and Slivko are about to get the... Yep, there's the GGs. Get their victory here with a 2-0. And again, would like to remind you guys that that stutter should not persist today. It unfortunately is a client bug / server bug. Typically